Hello guys, can you hear me now? Is this the best now? Is this for volume? I joined my iPad, so hopefully everything should be a bit more. How do you say this? The audio should be better. In other words, I'm apologies for the camera. I'm just not really not sure because with the previous sessions, people do them on just one device. I do them on two, so it's a lot harder because I use my laptop to check Q&A and the poll and all that, and the chats, and I use my iPad to actually go through the papers. But that means that people can't see me for some reason, which I'm still trying to figure out how and why. So it's still being sorted. So apologies in advance if that bothers anyone. So do you guys know what the session is all about? Let's see if some people have done their research. So what's today's session about? Okay, biology and chemistry, yeah, for sure. Okay, so before I start the presentation, sorry, I'm a bit ill still. Oh yeah, by the way, if I start coughing in advance, it's just because I had food poisoning. So yeah, it's nothing serious, but it's still pretty annoying. Okay, so what I want to do is just do this. Okay, I don't want to do this. Not this one. Not this one. Where is this? Is there a faster way to do this? Sorry guys, I've just been like, I have some issues here right now on. Oh, I think I'm going to do this from my laptop. It's going to be a lot faster because then I can just email it to myself, and it'll be a lot faster. It's just the paper's not opening on my iPad for some reason, which I did not really actually check before. But in the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions. So what questions do you guys have about section 2 that you want me to answer? Yeah, the meeting has started. The screen will be shared soon. I'm just still sorting this something else. Actually, you can see the screen right now. I'll just put this one on. The presentations are very broad because I would rather just speak instead of like just reading through slides. Like because the presentation I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like just talking from slides. I just prefer having a dialogue with people. It's not possible in this format, but yeah, I'm going to go through some past paper questions and I'll just highlight some of the most important topics you should learn. So hopefully this should be quite useful. So guys, are you guys aware? Yes, there is a screen right now. There should be a screen. Can you see it? Okay, great. Okay. What questions do you guys have about session 2? Or like some burning questions that you have? I remember there was a couple last time, but we just said next session. So what kind of questions do you have? Can you please put them on the Q&A? I'm quite curious to see what people have to say. Okay, I can't hear you. Your mics are not on, unfortunately. Yeah, thank you so much. TSA is hard in the BMAT. Well, it depends. So this is more for the previous session, but I'll just reply to this anyway. So, okay, so for critical thinking, TSA is definitely harder, but problem solving, there's a problem solving. It's a lot easier than the BMAT, I would say. So and then for the essays, it's roughly the same for section 2. But I would say that for DSA, yeah. So critical thinking harder, problem solving easier is what I tell people. How do we get fast at balancing equations? Okay. There are 2 things about this. First things first is practice. I know this is very cliche, but it's literally it. So for balancing, practice. So make sure that you can spot like what everything needs to be balanced. Like because once you do many questions, you will build an intuition And that is the key to actually succeed at balancing equations. Okay, what are the most common topics? Great, I will be covering that. What tend to be the harder topics for chem and bio? Oh, this is perfect. I'm going to comment this in a sec. Okay, is it true that bio is usually this section? Okay, this is very interesting. I like these questions. Would you say that BMAT is harder than UCAT? The thing is, this question is, I don't like this question for simple reasons, because people have different strengths and weaknesses. Like, for example, I find the BMAT a lot easier than, you know, the UCAT. But that's just because, like, I've mastered that test. Like, I know that test inside out. So that means that, you know, I don't really have a problem with the questions. I just know what to expect. They can throw anything, I know what to expect. Whereas with the UCATs, I know I'm not really supposed to slack the UCAT off, but it's just the truth. So there's a lot of luck involved in the UCATs. People don't have the same questions. Like, if you have a great score, either you're a genius or you had an easy set. And either way, that should not be the way it is, because it should be about your ability, not how lucky you are. So yeah, I'm not exactly a big fan of how just everything works there. Okay, so is it just the amount of questions answered which matters, or there has to be a question from each subject? It's just the amount of questions that matters. But please, so he here does not know much physics. I know there's going to be a couple of people, at least. There usually is. Okay, so 3-4 people, probably a bit more later. But okay, so a lot of people say that they are pretty bad with physics. So he has thoughts, oh yeah, I'm just going to do the maths, the biology, the chemistry. I've heard this so many times. You here will have a thought of this. Please send the chat, not on the Q&A, please. So he here has ever thought, oh yeah, I'm going to do physics. No, I'm not going to do physics. That's it. Like, I'll just skip physics completely. Well, you could have done that, but realistically, I know some of you will say yes, but you just won't in that time pressure. Do you guys think that you're going to get all those 21 questions right? Realistically. Even if you do, the boundaries, like, can still work against your favor, depending on each year. So, like, you can't neglect any area. It's a big error that many people make, which is like, oh yeah, I'll just skip certain parts and I'll still be fine or something. Which, guess what? It just does not end well for people. Never ends well. I've seen it time and time again. Okay, so but yeah, okay, so I'm gonna speed run through the surgery, the presentation, and then I'll just do some questions, and I'll answer some questions because I want you guys to actually see how I answer questions. Because then, if not, then what is the point of me even being here? Because I've been talking too much of questions. So okay, so if you'd like to talk to me, you are welcome to message me on 6med WhatsApp through the 6med group chats. You can ask questions to the team at 6med.UK. Or, you know, you can just, you know, there's Discord, there's literally anything you can work with. Okay, so BMAT surgeries. So the free live application advice and support. So, you know, this is not just about BMAT. So if you ever have any questions about interviews or something you want to see in the future, you can always reach out to me and I'll pass that to the team. So if you guys want, for example, interview workthroughs, practice, okay, I'm just wondering, can people hear something? Because my neighbor just loves to start something. Start his, he just loves to lawn his lawn on, you know, on Sundays. So if people can hear him like cutting grass, and I apologize, it's really annoying. Oh yeah, okay. So if people have any problems with like the noise, just let me know. I'll probably just I'll send him a message so he just buzz off. But yeah, yeah. Where were we? Oh yeah. So if you guys have any questions about, you know, the features of surgery, what you want to see, what you want to see, you can always reached out to us and we were looking into it. So who am I? So I own the subreddit. Subreddit is basically like a platform for forums. This number has actually reached 10,000. So we actually have 10,000 people. So this number was actually about 11,000 when I saw it last time in September. So 2 people use our subreddits, 2 applicants, and that is very significant. So make sure that you don't fall behind the competition. Make sure you use our subreddit as well. 2 applicants for the BMAT, or just over, even I'll say over that, use my subreddit. So I would recommend this. Everything is free. You just ask questions. Me or other members will answer them for you for free. That's the shit. Nothing that is paid. It's just like a forum. It's like the student room, except that we are people that are like, except you don't have the student room vibes, Oh yeah, I have 10 stars. Can I get into I don't know, whatever uni can think of? Oh, I have 9s in the BMAT. Will I be okay? That kind of thing. Well, like that's not in my subreddit, so because we usually ban those people. So so if you guys have any issues, then you can always check out subreddits. So I took many A levels. I would not recommend them. It was definitely a very interesting period in my life. So I took biology, chemistry, physics, maths, Spanish, and Portuguese, plus ASF maths, plus some Russian, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, these are my A levels. Too many, would not recommend. You only need 3. BMAT scored in the top 5 percentile. I'm actually resetting this year because last year I had technical issues. I'm resetting for fun basically, and also just to make sure, because I see the BMAT every year, to make sure that I know how it changes. So I'm probably one of those people that's the most up to date with the test, as I sit that test every year at the same time as all the candidates. So I know what the questions were, what are the answers, roughly where the boundaries will be. I just do all that. That's basically what I do. I wrote many BMAT books. Nope, they're not on Amazon. You can't find them. They're just like private books, which I usually just give to tutors and other individuals. Close to myself. I was told the BMAT for hundreds of hours, and I have insider knowledge from Cambridge Assessment themselves, as I was invited to the 2019 BMAT trial. And so this was a 2019 trial. And essentially the questions from there have been and still will be used, so they haven't used all of them. The question from there are usually used in future years, as we have seen. Question 27 in BMAT 2020 was from the trial. That there was also one question from 2019, which is from the trial, and I would say from 2021 there'll be other questions. The thing is, the harder questions are the ones that have not come up yet. So I feel like the BMAT this year will be really tough. I might be wrong. We just can't predict what questions they've picked for this year, as I'm not exactly in the consortium. However, from what I have seen from the trial, if they'll keep using those questions, the BMAT this year will be a lot harder, I would say. And there's actually data to back this up. I have a lot of spreadsheets and data that I've ran through that proves that the BMAT 99%. Well, that was a made-up stat, but I don't know the exact stats on top of my head. But it's basically like extremely likely that the BMAT this year will be a lot harder than 2021, like significantly harder, especially section 1 for problem solving and critical thinking. So yeah, fun. If you want to check that subreddit, it's here. And if you want to check my YouTube channel, you just type that link there, and you'll get to a video of where literally every single video has a different haircut. I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, if you want to check my YouTube channel, it's here. If you want to check the subreddit, both are free. Both have free advice. If that is your vibe, then go for it, buddy. Everything there is unbiased and brutally honest. So if you guys have any questions about, anything, because if you guys have any specific questions about Sigma, you can always ask them on the subreddits, and the moderators will ask you, will answer you. I mean, so you've probably know this already. These slides are mostly like just some guides. I'd rather just you guys listen to what I'm saying instead of focusing on reading this, which is why I don't change them that much. I think it's more efficient. So we'll go with, you already know, guys, concise info. So I already did all the research. So it's all here on the plate. You just have to learn it and appreciate the information. I'll answer your queries. So if you have any questions, type them on the Q&A, and I'll answer them myself. And finally, I'll walk through some questions, which hopefully will be a lot more this time, as they're a lot faster as well for section 2. So, as you can see, I've changed the meme, and it's very topical for section 2. So here recognizes this meme that I've put here. I want to see here who actually is like a dank memer. Okay, so he recognizes this. I'll give points to. Yeah, let's go. Oh, Max, you are very cultured. I appreciate it. One person is Sanic. It's the name, and the run also got it right. Correct. I'm really pleased to know that some people recognize it. So yeah, the reason why I put this is because you really have to go fast in section 2. It's definitely, you just have to keep going, really. Like it's a test of both stamina and speed. So, for biology chemistry, the key for both is to learn the contents, master the techniques, and avoid making errors. I know this sounds very generic. I completely understand it really is. But it's the truth. It's very cliche. So you start with a section 2. You start with a section 2. Assume knowledge guides. I always recommend this guide, guys. It's the official guide. You should be using it. If it's, guys, your examiners will reference this when writing questions. So why would you not use it is what I think. I tell people, guys, section 2 is knowledge guides. If there's something you don't understand, then maybe you should be managed if you have that instead. But me personally, I love the section 2 knowledge guides, but it's free, has most of the information. I feel like there are some things missing, which I've tried to tell chemistry assessment about, but they aren't exactly the fastest that changes. So to put that bluntly, so they haven't updated the guides after a year of me just like raising that issue, but it is what it is. But yeah, so for example, they say that you don't have to learn the reactivity series for electrolysis, but the questions they give on an exam require you to know that the series, which is very contradictory, and I've just raised that to them. So sometimes maybe you want to look at the BMAT Ninja for notes in that case, but you just have to take the guide with a pinch of salt. Sometimes it's helpful to use too if they don't have anyone to guide them through which ones don't have the information, which ones do, which ones have too many, which has too little, because every year the amount of information that you need changes, which is what I just tracked specifications. From 2020 to 2021, there wasn't a big change, I would say. Actually, I don't think there was even a change. I was comparing it, and look identical. So this is great news because 2019, 2020, there were all huge changes. So yeah, please don't skip any steps when you people will be like, oh yeah, I know the contents, I'm going to ace this. That's not how it works, buddy. When I say this, most of the BMAT actually maths. I would say that the section 2 is just, so section 2 in a nutshell, I'd say 90% of the questions like section 2. Maths, brackets, physics, maths, brackets, chemistry, maths, brackets, biology. That is pretty much the BMAT in a nutshell. It's all maths. Well, apart from sometimes they have 20 questions, but we can just ignore this for now. But say about 80 to 90% of the questions are maths. So you should be prioritizing the maths instead of the content itself, because maybe it will be learning the entire contents and not practice formula. Practice testing for homogeneity, which is essentially yeah. Okay, so for example, let's see if you guys remember. I asked an equation from last time. What is the formula for hydrostatic pressure? Yeah, rho GH, correct. So for example, okay, so let's say that I want the, okay, I'm just thinking of what equations can I ask you guys. Okay, so for example, I'll just give you an example. So it's going to be pressure equals rho GH. This is for physics, but I guess it's still relevant because chemistry, it's pressure, there's always chemistry there. So density equals mass over volume, and then pressure equals force over area. So I can just say that, okay, so force over area equals mass GH over volume. And then like, what can we do here? I'm just thinking of like, there was a couple of relationships which I remember doing this. I was doing this with some people the other day. I'm just trying to remember what exactly equations they were giving us. But essentially, like you can quite literally just give a bunch of derivatives. For example, they could be like, okay, so the relationship between, let's say, pressure and momentum, we had those. So it's just like something you just have to you have to spot equations within equations, is what I'm trying to say here. That can happen 2 or even 3 times if they're being harsh. So you just have to literally like master spotting equations within equations. That is literally most of the skills that are present in the BMAT maths. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about here. Next question. Next, come on. I want to go. Come on, bro. There we go. Okay, so you guys already know about this. I'm not gonna, this is for the new people. So the BMAT is a 2-hour computer-based test comprising of 3 sections. It's 61 quid. It's 92 quid outside of the UK. But now there are late fees, so I should actually update this. I believe it's 19 quid in late fees, but don't quote me this. I have to double check this. But I'm pretty sure it's 19 quid of late fees. I just have to double check this, as I said. And there's also it's high if you're a private candidate because invigilation fees. Okay, for sections, you have critical thinking and problem solving, multiple choice questions. We've already been through this for the last 2 surgeries, so this does not have to be discussed. We have section 2, which is biology, chemistry, physics, and maths, multiple choice questions. There are 7 of each, and then 7 of each science, and then 6 for maths. And then finally, section 3 is essay writing. So that's basically it. Key dates, you must be aware of on the BMAT websites, but the main ones are registration started in September. It ends in 5 days. So it's the same as for the bursary deadline. So if you haven't already applied, please make sure you do. And then the test date will begin the 3rd of November, so less than a month away. It's about 3 weeks away, give or take. Yeah, that's about right. And then we'll get your results on the 26th of November. And unis will shortlist it from the 19th, usually Cambridge. Yeah, before you even get your results, which is very odd, but that's how they do it. Some of the colleges, because I think they get your results beforehand for section 1 2. And then for March 2021, up to March 2021 for universities such as UCL, Leeds, etc. Okay, so BMAT. So we'll go over section 2 today. So they have 27 multiple choice questions in 30 minutes, which is 3 science maths. Okay, so what do you guys think are the key errors for section 2? It's very similar in all sections, but what do you guys think are the biggest errors that people make? Silly errors, timing, and not knowing the contents. Yeah, you guys pretty much nailed it. Yep. I'm really happy to see that people nail it. Those are exactly the biggest problems. So yeah, it's definitely a big problem right here. Okay, so we'll go to the next slides. So the biggest problems, as you guys probably know, it's panicking. People just will see chemistry questions and panic. It's look very hard, which they are, confusing or long, or all of the above. And then people just either just give up or, you know, they'll just keep panicking because they didn't do as well in section 1 as they would have liked. And then it carries on through the entire test. So make sure this is not you. Make sure that each section is done independently. Don't worry about what you've just done before. It's done. You can't go over it again. You just have to hope for the best. They're meant to be puzzles. I said section 2. Oops. They're meant to be puzzles. So be patient and give them a go. That's literally how, it's just a BMAT. So these key errors are literally all the same for every single section. But I just have to reiterate them in every session because people sometimes will underestimate the BMATs. Bad time management, especially in section 2. And I can't emphasize this enough, guys. Bad time management for section 2 is a killer for section 2. Most people will get this extremely wrong. They'll see a question, they'll be like, okay, let's do question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like they do it in A-level. They'll do it in order. And they'll only move on when they get something right. Okay, so I had some really interesting data which I want to go through, but I'm not sure if we'll have time for this. But do I have time? Let's see if I can actually give this explanation. I'm really hoping that you have time because I wanted to show you guys something about how people actually take the test. And it's just like more about studying the candidates rather than the test itself. Okay, I'm going to go over it just very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to put it in this screen right here. Okay, so there we go. So can you guys see that? What's the most common score in section 1? Okay, some people say 4.5, some people say 4.1. Okay, so if I recall correctly, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 21 marks. Okay, oops. This is 21 marks. And this is 18 marks. And this is out of 32, by the way. Okay, so can you guys see people in section 1, they barely get half the paper correct. Like these are the averages that you guys are competing against. Like this is your average candidates. Like no, there were 35 questions before 2019. Well, 2019 and before that. From 2020, there are only 32 questions in section 2, and data analysis is gone as well. So there are 16 for critical thinking and 16 for problem solving, which is 42 in total. But yeah, the most common scores are 4.3, no, 4.5, and then like a 5. So those are the most common scores. And this is not, the distribution will actually come for a sec, but I'm looking in terms of marks at the moment. Okay, so it's 18 marks and then 21 for section 1. Let's look at section 2 now, as I want to just show something. Okay, so let's go for section 2 now. Okay, look how close the marking is for this. I'm quite curious, how many marks you guys think we needed for the average in section 2? Okay, so this right here, 11 out of 27. Your average medicine applicant has 11 marks in a dissemination test. 11 marks. Is anyone shocked about this? I'm quite curious. For previous years, it was a lot higher, but like the questions are quite hard and people make many errors in the future. And there's actually a big reason for this as well, guys. Can you guys see how there's a recurring theme is only half of the paper? Can you guys see, like, for the first half, people complete this only half of the paper, right? And here it's a bit below half of the paper again. Can you guys see how there's a recurring theme for basically everything? And let me just tell you something why. It's because I won't be giving specifics as it is not part of the scope. However, certain parts of the paper are harder and some parts of the paper are easier, as I want people not to finish the paper. And this is why some of the averages are like this. You'll see that the average is usually around the half of 50%. Not 50%. There is a specific number, but I can't really leak that. But like the difficulty in the question does change. I said that there are 3 sets for the BMAT. I classify them in 3 sets. But that's as much as I will say for this session, I guess. So I'd say it's 33% of each type of difficulty. And yeah, so half of the, like, when you reach half the paper, the hardest questions are usually over there. So people will not finish the paper. So that means that, you know, you just have to learn how to skip questions because they'll put some of the hardest. I think it makes sense. If you want people not to get the highest marks, you will put the hardest, the really hard questions that 1 or 2, like either at the start or at the middle of the paper. This is just a very old textbook examiner trick that's been used time and time again. So there's going to be a question which people can't possibly do in like 10 minutes. And people will probably spend like 5 minutes on that. And then guess what? They can't finish the paper because they tried to do that question. They were very like stubborn. And this is why the average is so low for the BMAT. People are stubborn. Please don't be that person. If you can't do something, straight away, skip it, guess and skip, and then do that at the end. This is what I recommend. If you feel like you can't see the answer straight away, skip it. That's the way to go about it. Oops. There we go. So yeah, that was just something I wanted to just talk about very quickly. For the essay, there are no, like, they can't give as many 3, 4s and 5s as they want, so there's not strict. Yeah, those apply for both section 1 and 2. The hardest question to people will usually be in the first half of the paper. It gets a lot more specific. There's a lot of data, but the hardest question is usually in the first half. And you guys can probably check this. It's usually the truth. The question you struggle the most with, it's around the half. Sometimes even the first question or 2, because, you know, just are very sneaky. So I doubt they would do that a lot. But yeah, so lack of planning. So people just try to do questions straight away without even realizing what you need to do. Most of the time you should be spending on, most of the time you should be spending on this is just literally planning and see, okay, so if you can't do it straight away, do it. If you can't, if you have to think about what you have to do, then you need to plan, like, okay, so what do I need? What values do I need? What formula might I need? Whereas, you know, if you can't just see it straight away, then awesome, props to you. So you just have to make sure that you know what to do before you even start. Otherwise, you know, if you just approach it like it was, if you approach it like section 1, you know, for example, you just do the question as it comes, like, you know, just like, I'm doing the question, I'm solving it, now I get more information. No, that's not how you do it in section 2. In section 2, you must know how to do it from start to end. Don't try to do the question as they go, and you will make errors. Have a systematic approach for section 2. Okay, I'll do this, 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 and this, and that's how I reach the answer. That's it. That's how you get the highest scores. Okay, so these are the most common topics. There are more. I have an entire spreadsheet with how many times a question has showed up every year. So like I won't be giving them, but so these are the most common topics. So animal physiology comes about 50 times, and inheritance is about 30, if I recall correctly. Quantitative chemistry is about 30 and organic chemistry about 30 times that came out since the very first paper. This only applies to 2019, by the way. I haven't done the 2020 paper of this, but these stats only cover up to 2019. I'll say that there was a trend change for biology, which is gene technology. It's becoming a lot more prevalent. So I'd say you should also revise that. But yeah, there are 14 questions for biology and chemistry, 7 of which you have just a minute per question, just over a minute per question. And animal physiology, mass mold calculations, etc. They're very common. So you should definitely learn them. Like if there's anything you should prioritize, is these 4 right here. So if you don't have much time, just look at these at the very least. Also genetic technologies plus gene technologies. Oops. And then like maybe what else? Oh yeah, trends as well. Like groups, group 1, group 2, group 7. Those are must knows as well. So make sure you know your stuff. Okay, so this is sorted. Okay, so use the Q&A function, ask your questions, vote for the ones who want to be answered. I'll go back to this. I'm just going to finish this presentation as soon as possible. So 6 resources, make sure you make the most out of them. How can we help you? So you can check my YouTube channel, which is bit.ly. You're going to see the video where I look like an egg, as I said, but the content itself was pretty good. I'll be releasing some BMAT videos very soon. I've just been very busy with university, so I just have been pushing back some of the content that I had in mind. So that's the 6-minute surgeries. I'll be my exam. You already know it's subreddits or the 6-minute social media. So those main pages, Discord server, WhatsApp group. Make sure you reach out and do them and just visit them, check them out. Cheap paper paid, BMAT books, BMAT Ninja, 6-minute masterclass. You can also go for courses, tuition, and BMAT bundle if that is your cup of tea. On bias reviews, if you want to check them out, check BMAT exam. We have a team of people from most BMAT universities. So if you want to check them out, then yeah. We'll review many companies. So if you want unbiased feedback, you can always check them out. Or any suggestions that you want me to cover for future videos as well. Everything can be done over there. You are more than welcome to suggest future resources, to ask for help, ask for solutions, work solutions. We pretty much do anything over there. Like not just BMAT though. So for example, if you have interview help, like we do pretty much everything you can think of. It's just called BMAT as that is what we love to do. Which is odd, yeah. We do find this admission test really fun. Example question will be coming up, and then use the Q&A function to ask questions. Vote for the ones you want to be answered. Okay, so that's about it for the presentation. Now, I'll just, okay, so. Okay, so section specimen paper. By the way, I have not done this question. Like, I literally have not, because I want to make sure this is as natural as possible. So, why isn't it open? Come on. What? Okay, good note is failing on me. 1 second. Skip this. There we go. There we go. That's it. Wait, what? Where did section 2 go? That's very odd. Open it in good notes and again. Let's try it again. Okay, so yeah, okay, there we go. I'm just going to check something before I start sharing my screen. Okay, there we go. So close this. I'm gonna just close all of these tabs. Okay, Gmail. Okay, Zoom, and then send. Okay, that's it. There we go. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen for the other ones. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen on my laptop, and now I'll do the questions on my iPad now. Start broadcast. Microphones on. Start broadcast. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So section D. Do you guys want to? Okay. Do you guys want me to just walk through questions? I feel like this might be the best way to go about it. So just want to see how I do them. Okay, so I'll walk through them as if I was like in your position. So I'll use the Sigma methods to show you how you can best use, not my methods, but the Sigma methods, because it's what you guys have been learning. There would be no point in me teaching my methods if you guys are not like learning what you've been teaching, which is what I think would make sense. So I'll be teaching you guys these methods. Okay, so enzymes. Okay, so which of the following could affect an enzyme's activity? Okay, so enzymes are biological catalysts. Okay, so this is relevant. This is just what you've done. Okay, so treating the enzyme with proteins before use, boiling the enzyme before use. Okay, so this could affect the enzyme's activity because it can just denature the enzymes. I think that's quite logical in its own right. Using an enzyme warm to room temperature after it's been stored in a refrigerator. Well, I would say you'll go back to its normal activity. So in a way, it depends on, like, for example, if it was frozen to the point where it has been denatured, then you can argue about that. But in this case, I would say it would not affect it. However, treating an enzyme with proteins will affect it because enzymes are basically like have protein structures. So these two will be and they will be answered on DP because it is just knowledge, guys. I can't really explain why. It's just knowledge, just a fact. So boiling enzymes before we use it affects them because it will denature the proteins and hence the active sites. So it will affect the activity. And then treating an enzyme with proteins will also denature some of the proteins from the active sites and therefore it'll stop affecting it. Whereas if you use an enzyme warm to room temperature after being stored in the refrigerator, it has just been preserved. Like, it hasn't been like denatured, it hasn't been like frozen with like liquid nitrogen, so it's not damaged. It's just like it was just inactive. Like, enzymes are quite good in different temperature ranges, so it does not matter if it was frozen after being a refrigerator or stored. So does it make sense, guys? Like, this question just tend to be relatively straightforward. Yeah, proteins affect enzymes. Okay, so enzymes are made of proteins. So enzymes are made of proteins. So therefore, if protease should affect enzymes because of that. Which is something worth bearing in mind. You should check the C knowledge guide if you don't know this, because these ones are like mostly just knowledge, they just are meant to learn. Okay, so for these ones, okay, right here. Okay, so question 3. Which of the following can take part in addition polymerization? Okay, so for addition polymerization, you must have like alkenes. So what's the general form of an alkene, guys? Let's see if you guys know it. Okay, so people are saying in the chat, perfect. So CN, H2N. So we need to find something that fits this thing right here, or something around those lines. So this is equivalent to CH4, so it can't be. This one has the same formulae, so this one would be correct. This one is C3H8, so it's +2, so it's not correct. This one is C4H8, looks like it could. And then this one is going to be C8H16, so I'll say this one could as well. So the answer is going to be T, 4, and 5, which shouldn't be E. So that's basically how you just work through them. Like, they are very quick. And they shouldn't take that much time, I'd say. They do get a lot harder. These are like the easy questions. But okay, so someone asked about the opposite. Oh yeah, oops. That's a very great point, actually. I always forget about this. Sorry about this, guys. I always forget about the horizontal screen sharing that we got on our kids. I'm just very used to it, as people that I teach, we all have iPads, so we just, we have, doesn't make a difference. But yeah, I always forget about this. Thanks for the reminder. I always forget. So I need to put in notes to make sure that I never do this again. Okay, so what else? Right, so let me see what questions people have. Okay, so, but it isn't it asking for activity? So if it were to quicken it by warming to room temperature, we are changing its activity. Well, that is a pretty good point. However, it's talking about the activity itself, like the activity of the enzyme. I think you're like, I'm trying to think of a good definition, and I can't think of one right now. So enzyme activity definition. If anyone can give me one, that's great. I'll just okay. So enzyme activity is the moles of substrate converted per unit time. Yeah, sounds good enough to me. So well, it's not the enzymes themselves. So the enzymes are not affected by the temperature. You see, this is not affected. Do you know what's affected? Okay, so do you know why it's not the enzyme for this case? It's not about that. Okay, guys. So when we increase temperature, why do we get more enzyme substrate complexes? So why do we get that? Yeah, exactly. So we get an increase in kinetic energy, more collisions. So are collisions relevant to the activity of the enzyme itself is like, okay, so there's going to be an active site here. You'll just activate this. So the activity itself does not, temperature does not affect the activity itself in a way. What affects is like the kinetic energy. So, you know, it does not affect it directly. It's just like a really weird explanation, I would say. It's really like explaining the guides. I'm not exactly the best person to teach science. I'm more of the strategy person. However, there will be more collisions, so that will affect activity. So the kinetic energy will affect the collisions, so that affects activity. But the temperature itself will not affect the enzyme. It will not affect how many times the enzyme will iterate. Well, what if I tell you that? Okay, so some people are saying that, but what if I tell you that the mark team says it's B? I've just checked the mark team to make sure that I'm not crazy. The mark team says it's B as well. Just for anyone that's pedantic, you can check the mark team yourselves. The mark team says B. 1B is the answer, and 1E for the second one. Check it and get right. Not necessarily. No, they are completely different. Rates about like the rate of something per unit time, whereas activity is like how active the enzyme is, like how fast the enzyme kind of makes enzyme substrate complexes. So the unit time you will affect it is when, for example, there's going to be an inhibition. So, for example, I think it's non-competitive inhibitors. They will change the active sites. That will affect the activity of the enzyme because the enzyme will not be able to do it as much. Okay, so for people that start saying that don't understand the science, please check this knowledge guide. But essentially, in a nutshell, this is what happens. So we have this. Can you guys see how we can actually have another bond in each carbon? No, it's not. It's not. It's not increasing its activity. It's increasing the kinetic energy. It's increasing it's increasing the speed of the enzyme substrate complex that is formed due to like its, more successful collisions, but it's not going to affect the activity itself because activity is how fast it can make the complexes itself. So like this, if you think about it, it's like the velocity. And the velocity would only be affected if the active site is different. So yeah. Okay, so what we should do, so halogens act like hydrogen. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's halogens in this case. Because it's more about like this. So you should think about this. So this is an alkene. You just have to find a double bond. This is addition polymerization is all about these double bonds. So if it has a double bond, it doesn't matter. It can literally be C2F4. This can still undergo polymerization. So yeah, then you just do this. C, H, H, and then this. And this is like the repeating units. So it changes from this to this through UV light. But yeah, this is just like knowledge. I don't want to like dwell too much in it, as this should not be what I'm here for. Okay, so maths will be later. Okay, so one healthy male testes undergoes meiosis. How many chromosomes total are present after meiosis is completed? Okay, guys, so this right here shouldn't be a big one. So how many chromosomes does humans have? So let's see, how many pairs do we have? 23 pairs, okay. For meiosis, what's going to happen? How many pairs it's going to replicate, right? Meiosis. Exactly. So it's going to be times 4 for the end of meiosis, which is 92. The answer is D. It's just exactly 4 haploid cells, correct? So in this case, it's just just a matter of learning it. But yeah, you're just going to have them. Yes, you're going to have 23 chromosomes in each cell, not pairs. Just to emphasize that. So because they're asking for chromosomes, not pairs. So make sure that you remember that it's not going to be 92 pairs. Otherwise, we would have gotten this. It's 92 chromosomes, not the pairs. Because there are 23 chromosomes, not pairs, in like the daughter cells. Okay, so in this one, yeah, fair enough. It's more about like the chromosomes will be available on the websites. Okay, so for this one right here, I'll see if I can be lazy and solve this in a quick method, but I don't think I would be able to. So what would you guys do to solve this question? And I'll just tell you what I would do. So what would you guys do in this case? How would you solve this? Okay, iron. Correct. So someone said about choosing the elements and try to balance then eliminate the options. That's correct. That's what I would do personally. Okay, guys. So this is something that it's not really taught in schools that much, unless you get a pretty good one. Well, yes, yeah. Someone said pencil sees it's not in the surface ratio. Perhaps. I mean, I have nothing against. I mean, this is basically the same as like. Let me just check if there's any option which is the same thing. So it's going to be 1, 2, 1, and 1. Okay, so it's quite similar to D, but not quite. But yeah, fair enough. I'll say C. It might be an impossible one, but there's a simple way I see about this. So when you have many big products, usually you don't have that many of them. So I see the C and I thought, okay, so we have 3 phosphorus and 3 sodiums, okay? So wouldn't we and we have how many sodiums you have on this side? So you have 1 and then 2. So you have 3 and then 5 here, right? Sodiums. And in phosphorus, we have 3, right? So 1 phosphorus, 3 phosphorus, 5 sodiums, right? So if we multiply this by 2, wouldn't that technically solve our problems? I feel like it would when you think about it. Let's think of it. A lot of it comes from intuition, but I always start with the biggest ones. If you see many of these very like large compounds, okay, so NaH2PO4 plus 2 Na2 HPO4 turns into Na5. I'll probably have to just put it below the screen. Oops, I wrote it too big. Oopsie. Okay, so NaH2PO4 plus Na2HPO4 Na5 P3 O10 plus H2O. Okay, so if we make this 1 and then 2 here, can I guess how we've just balanced the phosphorus and the sodiums? Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. If it helps for people. This is better, guys. Just for some. Okay. Oops, maybe a bit too much. There we go. This is the sweet spots. So yeah, we have 1 and then we have 2. Can you guys see how we have 5 here? And then when we look at so we have 1 from here and we have 2 times 2, which is 4. So the sodiums are balanced. Make sense? So the sodiums are balanced. And now let's look at the phosphorus. So we have 1 phosphorus here, and we have 2 phosphorus here. And we have 3 phosphorus in total. So those add up. So far so good. We have 4 oxygens here, and we have 8 oxygens here. So we have 12 in total, 12 oxygens. Well, to me that makes sense. We have 10 here. So that means that there must be 2. Oh, oops. Oopsie. 3. Oh, no, not 10. 3, 10. Yeah, 10 plus. So yeah, that means that we must have 2 oxygens. So we balance the oxygens, and then we have 4 hydrogens. We have 2 hydrogens here, and we have 2 hydrogens here. So everything is balanced. So it's going to be 1. So it's going to be 1, 2, 1, and then 2, which is the answer is D. So like you just try to balance different elements. It's usually the fastest way to go about it. Don't try to get all of them, because can you guys see if you try to do trial and error, you would have taken ages, just because there's like 4 options you would have had to go through to actually get the correct answer. Trial and error is the worst thing you can do for balancing equations, because you can literally spend ages, and though you will make errors if you most of the time because of the time pressure. So you have to be very careful with them as well. Okay, so some of you will probably love this. Okay, so individual P's in the family pedigrees, homozygous dominance. Okay, so it's going to be a big P. And individual Q's homozygous recessive, so small p. Okay, they look the same. I'm going to do it as dominant, recessive. There we go. Okay, so what is the percentages that the individual use homozygous recessive? So this one right here. Okay, so this child right here is going to be big D, small d. So you just have to think about this now. So does it follow so far, guys? So this is homozygous dominant, so that means it's all the big letters. Recessive is going to be homozygous, so it's going to be the same. Homo, same. So it's big, small d. And then all of the offspring, if you do like a Punnett square, for people that don't know this stuff, which you guys should, but I shouldn't be doing it, but I'll do it for completeness. You guys can see that all of them will have the same. So this one here can only have one outcome, just for I would emphasize this. So yeah, what is the percentage probability that U is homozygous? Okay, so it has the same. Homozygous recessive, okay. If T is homozygous recessive, okay, so it's going to be D. So it's going to be, so you can just make it Punnett square, but that's literally the best way to not make an error, I would say. It's just the best way to go about it, but you guys will probably tell, and this is heterozygous, and it's going to be 25%, but oops, not, then you have D, and D. So you have 25%, which is like 1/4, if you want to do some stats. So it's 1/4, which is 25%. And here we have 2, it's going to be 2/4, which is 50%. So the answer will be C. Does it make sense, guys? Any questions? And I've checked the mark scheme is correct. Like, I'm doing questions as we go, by the way. Like, I have not looked at these questions beforehand, and I hope that people can actually tell. Like, I'm doing this as naturally as possible. Okay, so next question. The reaction between nitrogen. Oh, this looks spicy. Nice. So the reaction between nitrogen and hydrogen to form ammonia is exothermic. Okay, what just happened? Okay. No, I'm not sure what just happened. Oops. That was a bit odd. Okay, doesn't matter. So we have, which can be deduced from this information? Okay, so exothermic, so it's negative. So this is going to be nitrile bond, just to search this. So it's this plus 3 of this. It's going to be, I'm going to put the equal sign just for the time being, because it's going to be easier to explain. Okay. Okay, so 2 NH3. So NH, there's going to be 3 of these times 2, it's going to be 6. NH. 6 NH. So we can just make it as X plus 3Y equals 6Z. So far, does it make sense so far, guys? Any questions so far? Okay, so this is how we do it. And you just convert the bonds to algebra. So this is the easy step. Well, from this you could probably just tell that it's going to be D, just because there's only one answer which has 6 in them. So you could just be like, yeah, 6Z. So it's going to be answer D, which it is correct. But there is, then what is the point of me just going through it? That's one of the exam skills. If you think that there's only one option with your answer, then just go for it. Don't even bother with the rest. If you get one of the values that they're looking for. So 6Z. First thing. So delta H is negative. So what does it mean if it's negative? So that means that the amounts broken. So this is going to be energy to break the bonds and energy to form the bonds. So it's going to be positive, it's going to be negative. So something. So what is things like X plus 3Y minus 6Z is equal to like negative? Or is it? Okay, so I'm just thinking of how can I actually explain it in an easy way. Okay, so yeah, so basically there's more. An exothermic reaction means that there's more energy released than you put in, especially with the definition, like energy is being released. So that means that, for example, let's say we put 100 kilojoules, 200 were released, and that doesn't make sense. So you put 100, and then 200 were released. So that means it's oh dear. Yes, it has cycle. Someone just loves to show off their bike. Yeah, pretty much. Well, not always, but I'll say yeah. Obviously, this is correct. Well, the products have more energy than to react. I guess, but I don't like that definition. I think it's because it's just a lot easier to explain to one just say, okay, so you put 100, 200 is out. That means the energy is being released. So the energy at the end is bigger than the energy that starts. That's like, so it's especially in the exothermic process, energy is being released. So that means it's going to be the energy released from the ammonia is bigger than the energy that is put in to break the bonds from the nitrogen and the hydrogen, which is why it's D. And you get the same expression. Any questions, guys, on this? I know it sounds a bit confusing, but it's just exam skills, you know. You just have to work them out on the spot. Any questions? I didn't see anything in the chat. Hopefully this does make sense. Nope, not you. Oops. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so question 13. This should be like one of those active recall ones. Okay, so which of the following statement is correct? Okay, so signals transmitted across the synapse by osmosis. Nope. Transmitted molecules are released once the synapse transmits. Nope. The release of transmitted molecules is triggered by the signal. Yep. The signal is transmitted across the synapse by diffusion. That will be correct. Because of the reflex arc. That's what they talk about. So the relay, essentially. Okay, so that means it's 3 or 4, so the answer is E. That's just knowledge, so you should know. So I'm not going to dwell too much on about it. Okay, so hydrogen, magnesium, phosphate can exist in the following ions. Different salts can be formed from these ions, which is a formula for one of these salts. So, okay, so I'm going to start with the bottom ones. I feel like they might be the nicest ones for some reason because it has brackets. I don't like the bracket ones, so I'm going to just skip them for a while. I'll do the simplest, the easiest one first, as they might be the ones that we look for. Actually, okay. So here recognizes this. What's this? Does anyone recognize this? He doesn't recognize it. Yeah. So what happens when this happens? So what ion we have here? What ion are we missing? Minus. And look at this here. H2PO4, 2. So it means, and magnesium is 2 plus. And so that means it actually be B because of this. It's like phosphoric acids removed twice, and then you just get this. So a lot of it is like spotting something in something, as I've said. This is how I've just worked it out. So I spotted phosphoric acids in some of them, so I thought, let's try it. And then, you can just tell straight away which one it's going to be. Because, H2PO4 minus is -1. And there's magnesium, which is +2, so you can work it out quite quickly. You could have worked it out for charges as well, I guess, but it would have taken a bit longer. Yes, it's quite easy. The specimen videos are a bit easier, but I don't want to, waste those 20 papers on like the sessions because you guys will probably do them as mocks. So I don't want to spoil them for anyone. They're a bit easier, I would say, for sure. Okay, so the three statements below are about breathing out. So the ribs, so breathing out. So the ribs swing down inwards when breathing out. Okay, so let's think about this. So for you that don't like me, that don't actually memorize anything, so you just have to think about. So when you breathe out, there's going to be a cavity. So the pressure is going to decrease because the air has to go out of your trachea. Make sense? So you basically need the pressure to be bigger than outside to push the air out. That's basically it. So you have to decrease the volume by doing this because of PV plus NLT. So if you want a high pressure and temperature, these are all constants, then you need a low volume. So the ribs will swing down and inwards, means that less volume when breathing out. So this will be correct because of that. Diaphragm muscles contract when breathing out. When they contract, they will be basically going downwards. So they will be increasing the volume. So it's breathing in, not breathing out. So there can be less pressure. So this is incorrect. The pressure in the lungs increases when breathing out. It is correct because think about this. When it's going inwards, it's essentially decreasing the volume. So the pressure will get stronger and stronger to get all the air out. Because when you guys breathe out, it doesn't just go in, it goes slowly like. And that's why it's so some of you said A, which is not correct, but correct answer will be E. And it's just because when you're breathing out, there's going to be air, more air being breathed out at any given time. So the pressure is going to be increasing slowly because so for the person that said A, by the way, no one can see this chat, it's just me. So can you breathe in and then can you breathe out? I can see how your chest is going to basically get smaller and smaller the more you breathe out. Can you see like your thorax will get smaller? You can try this, by the way. It's definitely a pretty good way to visualize this. So you breathe in, your thorax has expanded, and you breathe out, and your thorax slowly goes back to normal. Yeah, that's how basically you not Twitter now. But yeah, that's pretty much about this. Pretty much how it just works. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So by MAT, calculate the maximum mass of lead that can be extracted for 480 kilograms of the So an ore of lead contains lead only if it's lead sulfide form. So 180 times 3/4. Okay, so the maximum mass of leads. Okay. Okay. So I guess what we have to do is I'm going to just do this like in the fastest way because it's just why not? So 480 divided by 4. So it's going to be 120 times 3, which is 360. Okay. Now let's look at the mass of PBS. So PBS equals 207 plus 32, which equals to 239. So can you just tell something? So can you guys spot this? Can you guys spot these are multiples of this? Give or take, we can approximate to 240. Does it make sense, guys? And you can use this as approximation. So just put like 1.5. So it's going to be like 1.5 of that. So the mass of lead is going to be 207 times 1.5. Okay, someone said it's a loss. Okay, no worries. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to work through this slowly. So we have 480 kilograms of the ore. Okay, makes sense so far? And it says that 75% of this ore is PBS. So we need to find the mass of PBS in the ore. 75% is 3 over 4, which is equals to like 120 times 3, which is 360. Doesn't make sense of PBS. So far, so good. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so they're asking us, we have to do this in a simple way, which is, so calculate the mass of, of lead. So calculate the mass of PBS in the first place, 207 plus 52, 239. So this is the MR. Doesn't make sense. I'm not sure if you realize, but 249 is very close to 240, which is a much nicer number to work with. And if you realize, these are all multiples of each other. So in reality, it's going to be 240 times 1.5 to get 360. Doesn't make sense for this one. Doesn't make sense. So if put this in your calculator, see what you get. Yeah, so you multiply to get basically like how much you need. So if we're let's think about this. So in 240 kilograms of PBS, we have 207 kilograms of lead. Those are follow. So in that case, in order to get 240 kilogram to 360, we just multiply by 1.5 to get 360. So we can also say that 207 times 1.5 is going to be the answer for this, which is going to be just 207 plus 103.5, which is going to be 110. No, 310.5, which is close enough to the answer I'm looking for. Probably did a silly error somewhere, but the number does match closely, give or take. Yeah, also it's also because we approximated 249, 240, which is why we rounded up. So our numbers should be slightly off the correct answer. Yes, moles of PB is same as PBS because you see, look, PB plus S. Yeah, so they're all the same basically. Yeah, you could definitely guess it. You could definitely do it. That's definitely one of the ways to do it as well. You could just say 360. Most of it is going to be a lead, so it must be this one, give or take. Yeah, you could definitely do it as well. I just don't like that because what if they had different ones? So let's say they had 300s, 320. Then what do we do? This is why I say like you just have to be quite careful because they could have given like 300, 310, and then 320, which would have messed up your entire results. Then you can't do that. So I'm teaching people the methods and the approach, not just a specific scenario for this question. But yeah, that would work as well. You can be like, oh yeah, 360, most of it's going to be leads, it's D. So yeah, I hope that this does make sense. Okay, so this is physics. Okay, so 21. So which overall movement of a substance in 2 cells requires oxygen? I think this question is the one that was incorrect. I think they made an error, but let's just see. Okay, so concentration arbitrary units. Okay, so SP, cell 2 to cell 1. Well, that can just go for diffusion, or it's pretty much pretty much diffusion. So it can diffuse. So this does not need oxygen. Doesn't need active transport. Q, cell 1 to cell 2. I would say that this would definitely need cell 2 to cell 1. They would need active transport as well, for sure. Both of them would definitely need it. As cell 1 to cell 2. No, this does not. But yeah, basically, I think they've made an error with this question because I remember doing this question with someone in the group chat before, and essentially these two are technically correct as well. No worries, but yeah, I'm glad I helped. But like these two here are technically plausible, B and C, because like both of them are like from a low concentration to a high concentration. So I think they did mess up writing this question. So yeah, Cambridge assessment does get stuff wrong as well. Yeah. And they said this, and the mark team said it's just, let me just say what it is. The mark team said it's C, but from B, so for Q cell 1 to 2, it's still need active transport. So B is also correct. So they've messed up with this question. So I'd say that this is a question that you should just ignore because they've messed up. Well, you could, but it's saying which requires oxygen. Like 12 over 15, as you say, just like 4 or 5. Whereas this one's going to be 4 over 7, which is going to be a 14.3 times 4, which is going to be 57.2, I'd say, around this. And I'm just going to check this. But okay, so 4 over 7, 57.142. Yes, let's go. So it's 57.12%. 57.2%, this is going to be 80%. So I guess you can argue that, Q will need them more, but I don't see why Q will need them as well. Just as a personal opinion, but the ratio here for this is going to be 57%, whereas it's going to be 80%, and it picked R instead. It's definitely a weird one to say in terms of ratios. But I think they messed up in this question. I don't think this question is even correct. Someone just probably even checked it when making this question, which is very annoying. Okay, so Y forms that recurring ion Y3 minus with electronic configuration 288. Okay. Okay, so what's minus 3 then? What does it mean? What's the guys? Let's see if you guys can notice it. This is Y3 minus. So has he gained or lost electrons? Yeah. So the Y would have a 5 originally. So it's going to be in group. It's going to be in group 15, I would say. Because group 18 is going to be the maximum for noble gases. It's going to be either C or D for the answer. So you can just eliminate it straight away. And you can just tell 1, 2, and 3. So it can be period 3, which is going to be C. Doesn't make sense, guys. So there are 3, so it's going to be 2, 8, 5, 1 period, 2 periods, 3 periods. It's going to be this one. And then for group 15, it's going to be 18. It's going to be equals noble gas. But for noble gas, you need 8 to be noble gas. So in order for it to find the hours, we just have to go back 3 groups, which is group 15. So it's C. Does that make sense? That's why it's C. We don't have that long left. We have like just a couple of questions left, and I'll just answer the Q&A after this. I'm going to finish. I think there's more like 2 questions left. Okay, so which of the following is not needed in order to genetically engineer bacterial cells to produce a fluorescent protein from a jellyfish? Option A, a plasmid or viral vector. Well, we'll do this because it's literally the entire form. We need a vector. So this would be incorrect. Enzymes to cut DNA. We do need restricting enzymes and all that to cut them out. So we're doing this. Fluorescent protein from a jellyfish. Well, okay, ligase enzyme. We do need it. We do need it. We don't need fluorescent proteins because we just need the gene, not the protein. We need the DNA. So the answer is 25. And then finally, this is the last question for chemistry and like for biology as well. So a compound of iodine and oxygen required contains 63.5 grams of iodine. It's going to be just empirical from the question. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's going to be 0.5. 20 over 16 is going to be equals to 5 over 4, which equals to 1.25. So over 0.5 equals 1, over 0.5 equals 2.5. Oxygen. So we have I over 2.5, which is just I2O5, and the answer is going to be E. And we are done for all the chemistry question walkthroughs. As you can, we just have to work everything by 2 in order to get the empirical formula, which is like the empirical is like the whole numbers, integers. So yeah, we are pretty much done for everything from the presentation. So I really hope that this has helped, guys. Yeah, they are from what they've done is they've definitely done that. So they picked past papers question to make the specimen paper, which is really annoying personally. So you can see this as specimen papers, which is why I say, guys, I'm just walking through them for the strategies. I might actually work through the natural science paper in next session because the questions are quite hard. Do you guys want me to do that? Because there are more strategies I can work through. Right, for the next session, I'll work through some natural sciences questions instead. Those are a lot harder. So I haven't done those in a while, but that'll be fun. Actually, I might be even 2020 with you guys because I have not done this question before as well. I'll just see what I'll do, but yeah. I'll just answer questions as well that people might have. But yeah. Q&A time. And then just this. Now I'll just do Q&As. That's all for this. Okay, so let's look at the Q&A now. Okay, so how to do the chemistry calculations in the time limits. As you see, like I would just know your contents, work on speeds. It's very cliche, but it's just how it is. Bio is not the easiest out of section 2. There's actually a graph I wanted to talk about to you guys. So what subject you guys think is the hardest and the easiest for the BMAT? So this is the graph that I just told people as well. So this is essentially it. So biology is takes the least time, but it requires the most knowledge. So it's not about difficulty, it's just about how much knowledge you need. But there's a sweet. So I personally prefer to do these two here, just because they don't take as long and they're not that hard. Biology is like very wordy, takes a lot of time usually because of knowledge. Maths just takes a lot of time with methods, and it's just like very annoying. So I prefer chemistry and physics in the BMAT personally. Me personally, this is a personal opinion right here. If you miss a critical thinking meeting, you just check the recordings for that. Okay, so genetics, we've already went through the next question. Hopefully that helps. Resources for practice problem solving. Yes, so for problem solving, you use the ECHA past papers. They are really good for problem solving. They are quite hard and they are free as well. Is GCSE maths enough to look over? That's literally A-level maths is not useful at all for the BMAT, in my opinion. The only thing is certs, but that's about it. A-level maths is very different from GCSE maths, so you don't need A-level maths to do well in the BMAT maths. I don't study A-level chemistry. Do you have any tips to prepare for chemistry questions beyond learning specification? Yes. I said for problem solving. Those questions are pretty tough, would recommend. They are harder than the BMAT problem solving. Economics admission tests. Natural sciences admission tests. And for physics, okay, so come on, guys. I already said this in other sessions. Just look at the recordings, but literally, like, look at just the past papers. NSA and PSA, IMAT. Okay. These are like my favorite ones. So yeah, you can just look at them for they're good for different things as well. Okay, so most common biology topics came up that has already been answered. How do you approach critical thinking session? Look at the critical thinking recordings for that. This year, how will the essay section work on computers? That's for the essay. But especially like you type it, and there's a limit of 100 words, but more on that in that specific session itself. Okay, people say this from physics. Okay, no chance. Physics and maths putting you off. As you can see, they require the most time. So you must learn the content first beforehand before actually do well in those questions. Okay, so some people just spam the Q&A, which is not pleasant, but I'm just gonna. Okay, so how much practice do we need for the BMAT? I recommend about 100 hours in total for a great score. Animal physiology covers like human anatomy. So for example, kidneys, the respiratory system, hormones, all that. So it's in the section system knowledge guides. You'll find it if you look at it. Mitosis and meiosis comes up. It's not very common. So someone asked how common is it? I'll say it's not very common nowadays. Genetic technology is replacing it, in my opinion. Look at it, yeah. It's physics aspects of main mechanics. No, it's a split of mechanics, nuclear physics, and waves, but more on that in the other sessions. No, I did not make an assumption. It wasn't a question. Okay, some people just had been giving answers in the Q&As, which isn't okay. Okay, let me just get rid of these. Yeah, it's a very weird one. I'm not sure why you can't see those questions. That's very weird. Alternatives has already been answered. Best resources for practice questions. Check previous sessions. I talked loads about this in other sessions. Yeah, it's on the computer now, unfortunately. Biology is the easiest, in my opinion. Well, I would disagree with that, but I'm best at chemistry personally. The Avogadro constant in chemistry is important, but I'd say not in BMAT. I would say they would probably give it to you, but check the specification for that because I learned 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23. Watch that be wrong, but yeah, just check the specification for what you have to learn. I have already done section 1 lessons. They are available. Well, if you talk about, I'm not sure if you mean by section 1 lessons. I've already done the surgery for that, which on the websites. If you mean tutoring, yeah, I do as well, but not here. I don't do A-level bio. You don't need A-level bio. Okay. Access to past recordings. It's going to be on the website, so it's going to be 6meds.com.uk/QA surgery. Same way you registered for this. Yeah, it's definitely, 3 weeks is definitely enough to get a 5. It depends on the guidance. Like, guys, what if I tell you one of my students, like, generally, she got a 6 with barely any practice. She just needed strategy. So she started with a 3 in section 1 and 2. Now she's getting 6s, 7s, even 8s. And I've seen some 9s, but rare. But mostly 6 to 8 areas what I've seen. I'd say that it's average out at 7. And there was not that much practice presence, which is I'm really proud of. So you don't need, like in the month, you can pretty much go to a 9. It just depends on who's guiding you. Mostly, it's not about. It's just very unfortunate, but it's about either who's guiding you or how well you learn it. It's just something to bear that in mind as well. But yeah, it's definitely more than enough as well. I have to meet this goal because it's being very annoying, very obnoxious. Okay, that should be sorted now. Okay. Disable desktop. There we go. Do not disturb. Okay, back to the Q&A. Yeah, there'll be a physics one, I believe. I believe it's the next one, but I might be wrong. Topics are apologenetics. Check the knowledge guide for this. The path is not useful for physics. No, it's too advanced. Do the anger instead for section 2. It's really good. And then the natural science admissions test. They are both great. Average score for Oxbridge depends on your GCSEs, but say 6s. If you want to get like 7s, then you need like you only might need 7s for Oxford to guarantee an interview. I'm talking about guarantees. Like if you want 100% chance of getting pretty much interviews, I would say 7s. Okay. Will it be given paper during the exam? You will be given paper during the exam. They should give you paper, but bring your own just in case. Bring your own. Bring a pen. Bring everything. A 6 translates to like someone asked what does 6 translate. So if a 6, for 6.8 translates to 28 out of 32 in section 1. In section 2, in section 1 is 28. In section 2 it's about 16 marks, 15, 16 marks, I would say. Good. Maybe 16 sounds about right. In previous years it has been 20. So it's between 16 and 20 marks, depending on how well people will do in section 2 this year. And also if people have technical issues as well. What book do you? I don't recommend any books. If you want any tips and resources, please either message me on WhatsApp or message me on subreddits because like this is a 6med session, so let's keep this on 6med topic, please, guys. Because please keep it 6med. If you have any questions, anything about it, you can ask them to me myself on subreddits or through WhatsApp. So yeah. How much time per question you should spend? A minute per question is the sweet spot. If you spend less, then you can just balance them in each question. Yeah, so you can flag questions on the software. Yes, I'll be giving tips for the BMAT online. I've just been trying to find a slot where I actually have time to cover the online platform. Okay, so how to write topics you don't get right? Okay, so this is why I recommend people do 2019 paper. So people start and they don't do past papers straight away, which is very silly. Do past papers straight away. Start with 2019. See what you get wrong. and then revise the topic, and then try to work with revise the topic. Don't look at the explain solutions. Revise the topic, and then try to work out the correct answer based on the reading you've done. So, for example, let's say I got chemistry wrong. Okay, so I get chem wrong. I look at the assumed knowledge guides, the AKG, and then after I know this, I give this question a go again, and then hopefully I'll get it right afterwards. And then I check the explained solutions just to make sure that there isn't a faster method or a faster approach. That's what I do personally. Okay, so what do you mean by animal physiology? It's on a section to knowledge guides. Which sections do you study the most for the BMAT? All of them. All of them are equally as important. You should spend as much time as you can in the BMAT I would say until the BMAT, you should be doing questions and revising now for the BMAT. Do you have any tips to remember the names of the hydrocarbons in organic chemistry? Actually, I might actually have this problem but when I started, I was really bad at chemistry. Now it's my best science. So you just have to like the more you do, like for example, organic chemistry and A-level, you will get very confident with them. Okay, so let me get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, lads. Okay, so you have meth, F, prop, but, pent, hex, hept, oct. No, I think it's nona, and dec. Can you guys see how these are like the names of like the geometry? So for example, pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon. I forgot the thing for 9, so I just forgot about it, which is not ideal. Not very ideal, but okay. So it's nonane. Yeah, that's correct. So it's nona. Nonane, decane. Let's put this aside. I can't type because of the 6-net logo, but can you get the idea? Like you have the geometry shapes, so you just have to memorize. You have to memorize the geometry ones. So pen, hex, and all that. If you know your geometry, this should be quite easy. So you just have to memorize the F, the meth, F, prop, and but. I think you should know what meth and F stand for. They're usually the easiest ones. For prop and but, I just learned them from propane and butane. Like I just learned the formula for propane and butane. That's how I learned the organic, like the nomenclature, basically. Nomenclature. Okay, so what else? More questions. Okay, so have extra time. Is it best to practice with your own time? Because if you have extra, the exam might be harder. Spatial reasoning is talked about in the problem solving session, so please look at the recordings for that. Okay, so there it is. We'll be able to flag the questions and then come back at the end, or you just have to remember it. You can flag the questions as online. The BMAT scoring, please check the previous sessions. It'll be explained in those sessions. If you have any more questions, you can ask them on WhatsApp as well if you don't understand them. 6 translates to like about 16 to 20 marks in section 2, 28 marks, and 27 to 28 marks for high 6 in section 1. So I'd say about 24 to 26. More like 25 to 26 in section 1. But yeah, 6 translates to then 16 to 20, depending on the year. Yeah, get a piece of paper, but bring your own just in case. The thing is, it's not about the time. It's not about how many hours you put in. It's how many hours you put in efficiently. Because some people, I know some people here. I'm not sure if the real question is right now, but some of the students from our / BMAT exam, they have my strategies and they haven't revised as much as most people, but they're still scoring way higher than most people. So it's more about strategies and how you organize your revision rather than, just, the hours itself. Because the hours, you can be many hours, but doing it wrong. So it's definitely something to bear in mind. Inheritance, yeah, that was an hour ago, but it has been covered. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's hard and it's still high because people have more time to prepare for the BMAT. Okay, I'm just gonna field notebook to figure out Sonic gig still in the Q&A. Okay, so I actually have been preparing. I have been working with BMAT for 3 years. I'm not a candidate anymore. Well, I am a candidate, but I'm not applying for medicine. So I have been studying the BMAT for 3 years. So I know the test inside out. I've been treating many people for many years already as well. So I'm very experienced for sure. So I have 3 years under my belt of BMAT prep, both as a candidate and as a student. I just had great time management, and I was really good at chemistry with my A levels. If questions are harder, will the grade boundary be lower? Not necessarily. Depends on your cohorts. Well, if it's going to be really hard, and if you have questions, do those admission tests I recommended. They'll help you quite a lot. Well, you would not have to miss some. Like, I can do all the 27 questions in 30 minutes. Sometimes it's not always. I won't get all of them correct, not always, but it's definitely possible to do 27 questions in 30 minutes. I can definitely do it. I'm sure some candidates can do them as well, but the average won't be able to. You just need a lot of practice and master the contents in order to do that. It's easy to get a higher score in section 2 because section 1 has critical thinking, which is new to many candidates. I say section 1 is easier to improve on. So, for example, I've seen people go to a 3 to a 7 in a matter of 2 weeks because they know the strategies. Whereas other people in section 2, they might improve just 1 or 2 scores because it's just a lot harder to improve that quick in such a small amount of time. Okay, maths and physics, that's for the next session. Don't worry about physics, just revise the section 2 to knowledge guides. You get extra. No, you don't have extra time for the essays. You don't have extra time for that. It's the same timing. For section 2, those topics that are common have already been answered in the slides. These are like questions that have been sent an hour ago, but I'm still replying so people can watch the recordings as well. Physics. Okay, none of these are questions. Okay. Your questions are presented slightly different to GCSE ones. How do we master techniques and application? It's more about either you get someone that knows what they're doing, so someone that guides you through them, or you figure that out yourselves. Like, you have to figure out the strategies, or you get someone to help you to figure those out, or someone that has figured those questions out, and they'll just give you everything on the plate. It really depends on, how far you want to go with this. If you want to do it independently, or if you want to cheat a little bit and get someone to do all the research for you. Yeah, I have a guide, but it's not on red. I have a guide, but it's not available for cheat. I have a guide. So I wrote a book, but it's not available anywhere. Section 1 strategies, the general ones. So the general / segment strategies are available on the website. So if you look at the session, I think it's section 1 and section 2. I'm not sure. Actually, it might be section 2. Session 2 for the surgeries. You'll find the session 1 tips. So if you want those, go there and you'll find them. I've given you some strategies like from section. I'm giving the general ones as that's the scope of the surgery. Could you go over BMAT questions are important? Yes, I have done that already. I'll be going over more next session. Are there new topics added to BMAT this year? No, they have not done that, thankfully. For biochem, nope. Are the trial questions normally much harder than the actual BMAT? Yes, they are a lot harder. They're really hard. They're actually, I feel like they're a lot harder than any papers that I've seen, to be fair. Like, we had a question on physics and geometry at the same time. Like, it was physics, but it was geometry. And my mind was blown. I love that question. I still remember it. It was such a great question. Cambridge assessment, if you're watching this. Yeah, I still remember it. Okay, anyways. What do you have to learn that's not on assumed knowledge guides? Could you tell us? Or it's just the reactivity series, so you have to learn. What practice would you recommend doing on the side for maths if you don't do it at level? Just the past papers I recommended. Do NSAA, do all of those papers that I recommended. You'll do really well. Assuming that you yes, you do have to know for hydrolytic. It's actual materials. I think it's 5.4 in its classification. P 5.4. It's definitely the materials. You have to know the formula for hydrostatic pressure for sure. It is on the guides. You have to look. You just have to look harder. Okay, so I wanted to ask, for revising section 2, what are the best GCSE exam boards to revise for? Nothing. Don't use GCSE boards because the BMATs have different GCSEs. So you must use section 2 technology. Guys, why do you guys want to look at different exam boards? Why would you have a specification, you have a guide, you literally have a free guide for your exam. Well, it's like, so imagine you have, let's say, an exam, A-level chemistry exams for Edexcel. Why would you revise OCR is what I'm thinking. It's just not relevant, is it? There's no point. Like, please look at the official resources. Please look at them. They are very important. Okay, so hi. For me, the errors I make are really dependent on the type of the paper. Sometimes one concept is easier in one paper, sometimes the same concept is hard in another. What should I do? Do harder questions, you'll do well. So do those harder questions I've told you from them. Like, I've been telling you guys about these papers in every session, and I really don't want to repeat myself. Please read please look at surgeries as it will help you. Yeah, thanks for whoever sent that. The recordings on the BMAT crash course is not free, I think. That's for 6 minutes. So I think it costs 129 quid if you want to go to their course. Someone asks if I run it. No, I don't run the BMAT course. I only run the surgeries for now. So you'll probably get someone else. Here it is. I don't know. Okay, so does biology have much medical content in exams? Yes, it does. A lot of it is human physiology, which is in the specification. Well, for combining equations, you just have to have fun with them. So what I used to just do was like, okay, so I would learn all the equations, and then just start mixing equations with equations, and it just worked. It was fun. That's just how it is. Best to revise contents, notes, flashcards. It depends on that question. Totally depends on what your revision style is. Mine is notes and just literally just reading notes. I don't make notes. I just read the knowledge guide. That's what I did. Practice questions would be enough for sure. Yes. It depends what you mean by enough, though. Do you mean enough for like a 9 just by practicing? I don't think so. Like the high scores are all about knowing what others don't. Like if you want to get high score, you know what others don't. That's literally it. So like people shouldn't expect to get 7 to 9 strategies online because then the boundary for yourself will change, because 7s and 9s means that you are an exceptional candidate. You're either genius or you know something that others don't, and that's exactly what 7 is. Most people they just know things that others don't. Would all the topics we have to study for biology come up in the test, or would it only be some? Only some of the topics. I think it's like about 7 topics usually or less that they ask. So probably like half of them, or even not even that. But most of them are just going to be animal physiology, anyways. I do meet practice questions, but I'm wondering how do I understand their thinking and what the answers are. Well, that comes with like practice because we build some intuition as well. I don't study A-level chemistry. Do you have any tips for preparing for chemistry questions beyond the learning the specification content? Yes. So in order to prepare, you just practice. And this is very cliche, guys, but literally, yeah, BMAT is all about practice. You learn the contents, you learn the strategies, and you practice. So you get better at applying those strategies. That's literally it for the BMAT. There are usually A to E nowadays. They've been removing the A to H options. So it's nowadays mostly A to E in section 2. But you might have the odd A to H, rarely. A polymer still has a double bond or not. Please check the knowledge guides. Okay, so for people who want to see knowledge guide, please Google Cambridge Assessment or BMAT Section 2 knowledge guides. You'll find this. I'll send it on the chat, but it's literally on Google, so people can literally find it very easy. So BMAT Section 2 knowledge guides. Access the guides. There we go. So right here, and that's the link right there. Okay, there we go. Okay. Is it just the amount of questions answered which matters, or does it have to be questions from each subject? Doesn't matter which subject it is, just how many questions you get right. Doesn't matter what subject it is. The past papers in TSA are harder for critical thinking. For problem solving, you use the ACCA. That's what I recommend. Yeah, so you'll be able to flag it and come back to it at the end. Yes. Yeah, so as I've said, I already answered this question about how to revise BMAT contents and how to do well. It's just learn the contents, learn strategies, practice, so you get good at applying both of them and recalling both of them. Yeah, so strategies I've been given, I'm just working through questions mostly. Like there's not like I don't think there's the strategy for section 3 is literally just learn the contents mostly and like have attention to detail. Like it's mostly a skill they have to learn. I can't teach you how to read section 2, unfortunately. How do we go about revising BMAT content? Okay, so we answered. There we go. The question has been asked 3 times. Because it's electronic this year, yeah, you'll be able to flag it. Okay, so okay, so okay. Okay, so it's answered. Okay, so when's next session? Next Sunday. Okay, for section 3, the section 3 questions will be answered in section 3 session, but in a nutshell, I don't recommend having statistics because they will check the stats, and if you get it wrong, they might cancel your paper. So please, I don't recommend using stats or facts because if it's wrong, then they'll probably deduct marks off your section 3 essay. Okay, okay, this is already answered. So yeah, just use your example. Don't use your different examples. Use the section 2 knowledge guide. Section 2 knowledge guide is the way to go. How many marks can we get by working out methods, but an incorrect final answer is a maximum typically? I don't understand what the question is on about. Can you clarify? I'll say it depends on each year from what I've seen. I'll say about 2 marks maximum for that question. I'll say 1 to 2 marks just by working out the methods. Right, guys. So there are no more questions, I think. I'm just going to check the chat, and that's about it for today. Yes, the last one is all about practice. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so average BMAT score, it's going to be, the average is going to be sixes. But if you want, so for sixes, even for interviews, it's like Cambridge is like sixes. For Oxford, if you want like guaranteed, like 99% guaranteed interview, you just need sevens for Oxford. But it depends on your GCSEs as well, and if you're international. But even as an international student, sevens is really safe for Oxfords, and also for people with bad GCSEs as well. If you have better GCSEs, you might only need fives or sixes for Oxfords. It really depends. No worries at all. I'm really glad I helped, guys. Okay. Okay, so someone asked what? Okay, so diseases. Check the units. Okay, so someone asks which topics. So diseases will be on the biology. Please check the senior knowledge, guys. These questions you should not be trusting, guys. You should not be trusting an instructor. Because two things. I teach strategy. I don't teach content to people because I think there's a waste of your time and my time to use this time here to teach you content. I don't think there's going to be a very productive session. So please check the two knowledge guide yourselves because you can check what is and what isn't on the exam. Okay, so someone asked, why is my guide only available to student people? Because, well, I'm actually a commercial student, so I run courses, I guess it's course programs, whatever, for companies and organizations and schools. So those guides are unavailable to some people if they're in those programs. So it really depends on, if you're in that program, if your school's in that program, then you'll have access to it. Otherwise, you really don't really have access to those guides as I'm not sure. You just have to message me about that. And just because I'm not sure, I'll have to check. You can just WhatsApp me and I'll just look into it, but I can't give an answer now as I don't know. I have to check with other people as well from the team. So, okay, that's the number right here. How do you work under time pressure? Well, think about this. Approach the BMAT as if it's a puzzle, quite literally. So, that's literally it. If you want, it's more about practice. It's more about drink a lot of water and have a great diet. It's also about having a healthy body. Because healthy body equals healthy minds. So make sure that you have a great diet as well. The weeks according to your BMATs, please make sure you do. And also, just don't worry about it. Have fun because this test is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's not like the UCAT where you have time to think. You have time to think, so therefore you should be enjoying the paper. Have fun. It's really interesting paper once you actually appreciate this. Brief summary of what has been covered so far. So I'll give you a summary of the session. So in a nutshell, summary of the session. So first things first. For section 1, you have 32 questions in 1 hour, which is 1 minute and 53 seconds per question, if I believe. For section 2, 27 questions in 30 minutes, which is 1 minute and 9 seconds per question, give or take. They are in different orders, so the question difficulty is different. I can't go into specifics. Sometimes you come up more often than others. I've given you the main ones. I won't give you the full version, but as that's a very confidential document. However, those are the main ones you have to learn, and they're very likely. I've given you guys the main ones you must learn for the BMATs. You're not allowed to have a calculator at all. You'll get disqualified if you use a calculator. What else? So you have for section 1, you can use, for critical thing, you can use logical form. So if A then B, if B then C, therefore if A then C, etc. Use logical form to solve the answers. Read the question before reading the the information to give you and the answer choices. The questions, because you know what to look for first. And that is about it, guys. That's about the summary that we've had for the session so far. So I don't see any more questions. So, okay, wait. Is a test in some hall with like the kind of small rooms where you can't see anyone? It depends on your test center. In some test centers, you can see everyone, and others are going to be a hall. So it depends on where you'll sit it. If you didn't do bio, learn the section 2 knowledge guide, learn the biology. Look at the guides. That's the way to go about it. Well, but you not do well. You need to learn the context. You can't skip that step. First option is to learn it. Second option is to get someone to help you with doing that and tell you which areas are the most common. So you won't cover everything, but you'll cover what's the most likely to come up. So your score will be quite high. I guess the option. Some muffles. Weird. 1 second. Let's see. Is the microphone better? There we go. So I was saying you have 2 options. I was just getting the microphone close to me, but I think that was a very bad option. So what I was just saying was you have 2 options, or you have limited time. So actually you might have 3. So first option is you just suck it in and you just do it. That's the first option, because you like if it depends on if you have someone to guide you on this process. Because and this is really unfair, but this year, like it's more about either you have the time to work through it properly, or you have someone to guide you, so you don't waste time on specific topics. That's literally it. Yeah, I understand. Uni is really intense. I'm in uni myself. I completely understand how that feels. You just have to, maybe neglect it for some time. It's not what would say, but that's what I would say. You need some time to revise the BMAT properly. It's all about, compromise. Yeah, that might be the way to go about it, for sure. Okay, guys. So the session is running for 2 hours, so I'm going to just end the session now. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh my God, 30. I feel so bad for you guys. By the way, guys, can all of you please tell me where you get the BMAT, please? Like, I'm not doing this just like because people assume that people doing this are usually students looking for extra cash. I'm personally like, I'm not that person. Like, I really enjoy teaching people, and I'm doing it because I love it. So, like, can you all please tell me how the BMAT goes? Sure. If you want to contact me personally, you can contact SixMed. If you want to contact me personally, that's my contact details right here. And I can also add it to the group chat. So if you want, I'll just give you the international version. So you can also just, if you're international student, so +44 7 40 444 2615. So if you want to contact me, that's my number right there. And if not, you should need group chat. So you can message me on WhatsApp. I'll add you there. Or if you have any questions, you can always ask me questions there about anything, and I'll answer them. Right, guys. So I'm going to end the session really soon. Please text me on WhatsApp if you have any questions. I will not. People send the number on the chat, but I'm not going to message anyone. If you have any questions, please message me directly, and I'll answer. So I hope this was helpful. Take a screenshot of it if you want. I'll delete it in 5 seconds. And that is gone now. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to end the session now. Thank you so much for attending. I hope it's really helpful. If you have any suggestions for the next session or any feedback that you can give, you'll be really appreciated. Have a lovely continuation of afternoon and see you in the next session. Goodbye, guys.